Welcome to Living Your Wealth Today and Tomorrow, the show where we explore how to enjoy the wealth you've already built, as well as how to best plan for a successful financial future. I'm your host, Kelli Ennis, founder and president of Infinity Financial Strategies. Welcome back to Living Your Wealth Today and Tomorrow, the podcast where we talk about how to live your life by design, not by default. I'm your host, Kelli Ennis, with Infinity Financial Strategies. Today's episode is a little different from our previous episodes. We're exploring something that's been shaping headlines, transforming industries, and quietly influencing our personal lives: artificial intelligence, or AI. You've probably noticed that AI is no longer just a buzzword for tech enthusiasts or science fiction fans. It's built into our phones, our cars, our email systems, and even the social media posts we see. It's deciding what movies we might like, which emails to prioritize, and how we navigate our daily routines. But can AI really help you in your everyday life in a way that's useful, safe, and reliable? Today's conversation will dig into that question, exploring the benefits and the perils of using AI in personal life, not just business. We'll talk about how to make it a helpful assistant rather than an unreliable source of confusion. And yes, we'll even touch on some of the financial aspects of AI use because, as you know, here on this podcast, nearly every decision we make has some kind of financial ripple. So let's start by grounding ourselves in what AI really is and why it's everywhere. Artificial intelligence, or AI, has been around in some form for decades. In the 1950s and 60s, it was mostly theoretical. In the 80s and 90s, it became experimental. But in the 2010s, AI became quietly embedding itself into the fabric of our everyday life. If you've ever used Google Maps, Amazon recommendations, voice assistants like Siri or Alexa, or even spam filter on your email, you've already been using AI for years. What changed in the last few years, though, is accessibility. Tools like ChatGPT and other generative AI systems made it possible for everyday people, not just programmers or data scientists, to interact with AI directly in plain language. And that has been transformational. Suddenly, people are using AI to plan meals, draft emails, summarize notes, outline essays, brainstorm vacation itineraries, and even analyze part of their financial lives. In the professional world, AI has already become a standard tool for improving efficiency. But at home, that's where the conversation gets even more interesting. Because when it comes to your personal life, there's a fine balance between helpful and risky. Used well, AI can save you time, reduce stress, and even make you more creative. Used poorly, it can lead to errors, misinformation, and even breaches of privacy. So today, we're going to walk that line carefully, looking at what AI can do for you, where it can go wrong, and most importantly, how to use it thoughtfully and safely. And that starts with one of the most critical, yet most overlooked aspects of all: context. Let me share a story that perfectly illustrates why context is the foundation of every good AI result. I was at an event recently with other professionals, and we were all talking about how we've started using AI. One professional shared a story about asking ChatGPT for suggestions on how to motivate his team and improve his leadership skills. Seems simple enough, right? ChatGPT responded with a mix of ideas: offering bonuses or benefits, providing food, bringing in a motivational speaker, and showing appreciation. But then came the odd one out: flogging. Yes, flogging, as in corporal punishment from the 1700s. Obviously, not appropriate for a modern office setting. But here's what happened next. An AI expert at the event jumped in and used this as a learning opportunity. He asked this guy to share his chat and began refining the prompt. He started by asking ChatGPT to cite its sources. And sure enough, there was an old reference about flogging servants for motivation. Then he added more context. The team was 8 office assistants working in customer service, IT support, and operations. Immediately, the response improved. When he added even more context, like what type of motivation was lacking, the results were excellent. By the end, ChatGPT's refined advice looked like it came from a top leadership book. Lead with mission alignment, set clear expectations and empower ownership, recognize and appreciate regularly, provide development opportunities that align with the mission, maintain open communication, encourage cross-training and collaboration, celebrate milestones and successes. It took several back and forths to get there, but it was a great example of how better context produces better results. The expert then asked ChatGPT how he could have phrased his question better from the start. And ChatGPT itself provided the perfect revised prompt, complete with all the missing details. That's the beauty of AI. Not only does it respond, it can teach you how to ask better questions. Without context, AI can only guess, and that's where the problems start. Let's talk about how this plays out in real life. If you ask ChatGPT, how do I change a light switch? You'll get detailed instructions. It'll even warn you about electrical safety. But what if the real issue isn't the switch at all? What if the light doesn't turn on because the bulb is dead or the breaker tripped? Or maybe it's not your house, it's an Airbnb, and you shouldn't be messing with the wiring at all. AI can only answer the question you ask, not the problem you have. That's the danger of missing context. If your question doesn't include enough detail, you'll get a technically correct answer, but not necessarily a useful one. Here's another more financially relevant example. Someone uploaded an IRA statement to a ChatGPT and asked, "How much can I convert to my Roth IRA?" ChatGPT read the balance correctly, $176,000, and confidently said, "You can convert $176,000. Technically true, financially reckless. No mention of age, income, goals, or tax bracket. Without that information, the AI couldn't possibly provide a personalized or even sensible recommendation. It's a reminder that AI doesn't replace expertise, and it doesn't know what you don't tell it. That's the hidden danger. AI can sound confident while being wrong. It won't hesitate, hedge, or say, "It depends." It will deliver an answer in perfect grammar, which makes it feel reliable, even when it's not. So, before you act on an AI response, ask yourself, did I give it enough information? Did I explain the goal, not just the task? Does the answer make logical sense for my situation? If not, stop and refine the question. A few extra sentences of context can be the difference between a brilliant shortcut and a costly mistake. And this example brings up another potential issue. Every time you type into an AI system, you're sending data somewhere, usually to remote servers for processing. That means anything you share could, in theory, be stored or used to improve the system later. Now, reputable companies have privacy policies and enterprise versions designed to protect user data, but not every tool is created equal. Here's what to keep in mind. Never share personally identifiable information, like your name, address, or account numbers, unless you're certain it's a private, non-training environment. Be cautious with financial documents. Redact sensitive data before uploading. Replace details with generic placeholders like owner1. Understand the platform's settings. Some versions of ChatGPT allow you to disable history and training. Use those options when dealing with private material. And assume permanence. Once uploaded, data can live on servers indefinitely. Treat each prompt as if it could be published publicly. Remember that financial security isn't just about protecting money. It's about protecting information. Your financial data tells a story about your life, your habits, and your future plans. You want to decide who reads that story. So use AI as an assistant, not a vault. Let it help you analyze data, but keep control over where that data comes from and where it goes. Another frequent misstep comes when people ask AI the wrong question, or a question that's too vague to be useful. You may have seen those viral videos where someone uploads their investment statement to ChatGPT and asks, "Is my portfolio good?" First, that question doesn't even make sense without context. Good compared to what? For whom? A 26-year-old? A retiree? Someone saving for a home in 5 years? ChatGPT might respond with something vague like, "It's moderately aggressive and somewhat diversified," and then it creates a pie chart. That might look impressive, but it doesn't actually mean anything useful. So instead of feeding in your entire statement, which can expose personal details. You could export your holdings list and use that to ask more specific, targeted questions. List my funds with their expense ratios and highlight those above 0.5%. Estimate the annual dividend income from these holdings. Identify the 10 companies I'm most exposed to. Those answers give you data you can evaluate. And this idea isn't limited to money. If you ask AI, what's the best diet or what's the best car, you'll get similarly vague results. The word best means nothing without a goal. AI thrives on precision. The clearer you are about what success looks like, the more valuable its help becomes. Here's another challenge. Every AI model has a boundary line, a moment when its internal knowledge simply stops. It's as if the lights went out in its library on a specific date. After that point, it has no built-in awareness of new laws, events, or discoveries unless connected to real-time data. This creates one of the most deceptive risks in everyday use, an answer that sounds fresh but is actually outdated. Take the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, which became law in July, as an example. When people began asking ChatGPT about it in September, the model still only contained information from earlier drafts, the versions that filled the news before final negotiations. Those drafts included provisions that never made it into the final legislation. When users asked for a summary of the OBBBA tax changes, ChatGPT confidently produced pages of output. But they contained information about those old proposals, not the actual final legislation. They sounded completely credible because the language mirrored what had been in the headlines only months before. But anyone relying on those results for financial planning would have made decisions based on phantom rules. That's why trust but verify isn't just a saying, it's a survival strategy. Whenever you use AI for anything that touches your finances, taxes, or healthcare, double-check the date of the information and confirm it with a current official source. In fact, did you know that you can ask ChatGPT for the sources that produce the output? Double-check those sources. AI can explain concepts clearly, it just can't guarantee they're current. There's another challenge most people don't realize. The information that trains AI systems like ChatGPT has not been independently verified. That means every fact, figure, article, blog post, social media comment, and news piece that the model has read was created by a human somewhere. And humans, as we know, can be wrong. AI doesn't know what's true. It knows what's statistically common. It builds patterns based on probability, not accuracy. So, if a certain myth, bias, or misconception appears frequently enough online, AI may treat it as credible simply because it's been repeated. Here's an example. Suppose you ask, what's the safest investment during a recession? If the model has seen a large number of online posts claiming that gold is always the best investment, it might parrot that idea. Even though, in reality, gold performs differently depending on inflation, interest rates, and investor sentiment. The model doesn't cross-check sources or analyze financial data the way a financial professional would. It can't say, wait a minute, that's an oversimplification. And that's just the accuracy issue. There's also bias. Bias doesn't always mean intentional manipulation. It can simply reflect the perspectives of the data the AI was trained on. For example, if a topic has been written about primarily by one demographic group, one region, or one political leaning, those perspectives may dominate the results, subtly shaping what AI presents as neutral. That's why you may notice that AI sometimes leans one way or another on social or policy issues, or that its recommendations mirror the majority opinion rather than a balanced analysis. Then there's tone. AI struggles profoundly with sarcasm, irony, and cynicism. If a blogger jokingly says, "Oh, investing in tulip bulbs worked out so well last time," the AI may interpret that literally, concluding that tulip bulbs were indeed a great investment. Or consider product reviews. A sarcastic remark like, sure, because everyone loves software that crashes every 10 minutes, can be misread as a positive statement. This is why AI-generated summaries of social media, headlines, or opinions can sometimes feel strangely off-kilter. It can't always distinguish between genuine praise and biting humor. The result? Outputs that sound confident, sometimes even eloquent, but are built on unverified or misinterpreted foundations. So, what should you do with that knowledge? First, understand that AI is a starting point, not a final authority. If you ask it to draft an explanation or summarize research, treat the result as a first draft, something to refine, edit, and fact-check. Second, cross-verify anything that matters, especially if it influences your money, your health, your relationships, or your reputation. And third, remember that bias isn't always visible. If something sounds too aligned with your existing viewpoint, pause and ask yourself, is it reflecting my preferences or repeating maybe the most common narrative? That simple pause can save you from echo chamber thinking and help you use AI more thoughtfully. Ultimately, AI is a mirror of humanity. Brilliant, creative, flawed, and occasionally sarcastic. The key is learning when to trust the reflection and when to clean the mirror. Now that we've covered what to watch out for, let's talk about what AI does beautifully when you use it wisely. Because despite its imperfections, AI can genuinely make your everyday life more efficient, organized, and even enjoyable. Here are some of the most useful real-world applications and examples of how they can work for you. Number 1, travel planning. If you're preparing for a trip, feed your itinerary to ChatGPT and ask it to create calendar or ICS files for each stop. It can organize your flights, hotel check-ins, sightseeing windows, and meal reservations, and then export all of those to your calendar app so everything syncs automatically. When used alongside verified maps and airline information, this can transform a chaotic travel week into a stress-free experience. Number 2, summarizing notes and learning materials. Students, professionals, and lifelong learners alike can upload long transcripts, PDFs, or lecture notes and ask for a 5-point summary, key takeaways, or even flashcards. This is fantastic for people who process information visually or who want to review complex materials quickly. Think of it as a personal study assistant that never gets tired of re-explaining a topic. Number 3, file organization. If your desktop looks like a digital junk drawer, AI can help. Many systems can now access your file directories, read document titles, and even peek into the content to categorize by theme. You can ask it to rename files in a unique format, something like 4-digit year, 2-digit month, vendor name, description, and sort them into logical folders. In minutes, you'll have the kind of digital order that usually takes an entire Saturday afternoon. Number 4, inbox management. Email overwhelm is a universal experience. AI can summarize multi-day threads into a concise paragraph, highlight questions you still need to answer, and even draft polite responses in your voice. Imagine reclaiming 10 minutes here, 20 minutes there. That's hours back each week. Number 5, extracting data from PDFs. We've all had that one PDF, a statement, receipt, or report that refuses to copy cleanly into Excel. AI can read the unstructured text and output a usable table of data. This is particularly helpful for anyone reconciling expenses or compiling summaries from scanned statements. Number 6, translation with context. Translation apps have existed for years, but AI adds nuance. You can feed it a paragraph in another language and not only get a translation, but also ask, what tone does this carry? Is it formal or casual? Or explain how to interpret this train schedule from Tokyo. Which column is departure, which is arrival? AI bridges the gap between language and meaning, context that pure translation often misses. Number 7, coordinating family schedules. Families today juggle complex calendars, school pickups, sports, appointments, errands. Feed your family's schedules into AI and ask, identify overlaps and opportunities for shared errands. It might discover that your spouse's dentist appointment is near your grocery stop, or that 2 after-school activities happen within blocks of each other. You could reclaim an hour a week, or your sanity. Number 8, critical thinking partner. Ask AI to play devil's advocate. If you're considering a career move, a home renovation, or a financial decision, argue the opposing point of view. This forces you to see blind spots and sharpen your reasoning, like having a patient debate partner on call 24/7. Number 9, identifying replacement parts. So if you've ever needed a replacement part for an appliance but didn't know what it was called, take a photo and upload it with a note. This is a plastic tube connector from the back of my Samsung refrigerator that carries water to the ice maker. ChatGPT can often identify the part type or at least the search terms to help you locate it online. Number 10, restaurant search for dietary restrictions. Planning dinner for a group with multiple allergies or dietary preferences can feel impossible. AI can filter local restaurants by menu data and highlight those that accommodate everyone. Instead of spending an hour scrolling through reviews, you can spend that hour enjoying the meal. Number 11, literary detective. Ever remember a line from a book or a poem but can't place it? Describe it to AI. It's something about time and courage, and I think it mentioned waves or the sea. Chances are it will identify the author and the passage, sometimes within seconds. Number 12, outsourcing decisions. We all have recurring tasks: laundry, lawn care, bookkeeping. Feed AI your task list, the time each task takes, and your hourly earnings. Ask, which of these are worth outsourcing if I value my time at X dollars per hour? It will calculate the break-even point, a clear, numerical argument for delegating what drains you. Number 13 is gift giving. When birthdays or holidays sneak up, ask AI for ideas. What are trending gifts for a preschooler who loves dinosaurs? It can even include price ranges and store links. Perfect for saving time and staying thoughtful. And last one, shopping efficiency. If you have a long list of errands, tell AI what you need, where you shop, and how long each stop takes. Ask it to build the most efficient route, considering store hours and driving time. It's like having a personal logistics manager, one that never complains about traffic. Used thoughtfully, these applications can genuinely simplify daily life. They free up hours, reduce mental clutter, and let you focus on what truly matters: your family, your goals, your health, and your purpose. But again, each of these benefits depends on how well you understand the boundaries. AI is extraordinary at synthesis and organization, but it's only as trustworthy as the data and context you provide. Sometimes the best way to understand how to use new technology is to see it in action, not in a lab or corporate setting, but in the flow of daily life. So I want to share 2 examples from my own experience that highlight both the potential and the pitfalls of using AI wisely. Not long ago, we planned a busy day in New York City. We wanted to see a few exhibits, see some other points of interest, meet friends for lunch, and arrive at dinner reservations across town, all while keeping an eye on a weather forecast that was shifting by the hour. Rather than spending my evening cross-referencing maps, walking times, and restaurant hours, I decided to try ChatGPT. I entered all the details, addresses, event times, and the updated forecast, and asked for an itinerary that would minimize outdoor time in case the rain worsened. The result was truly impressive. It suggested an order of stops that not only reduced time outside, but actually increased efficiency. One museum visit would end just as the next attraction opened. A coffee shop along the route provided a dry stop between destinations. Everything synced neatly into calendar files that I could drop directly onto my phone. That's AI at its best. Quick, efficient, responsive, and remarkably convenient. But ChatGPT's story as a travel agent isn't all sunshine and rainbows. The very next day, I saw an article on the BBC about travelers who relied entirely on AI-generated itineraries, only to find themselves directed to non-existent landmarks or hiking routes that didn't actually exist. in a place where the directions could have put the travelers at real risk. A reminder that, while AI can be powerful for planning, it doesn't fact-check the real world. The differences between success and disaster in those two stories was simple. Verification. We double-checked every location, looked up each restaurant's hours, and confirmed addresses before stepping out the door. AI provided structure. We provided discernment. That partnership, human judgment guided by digital assistance, is where AI truly shines. The second story is closer to home, literally. When my son was moving into his first apartment, we faced a long shopping list and a tight schedule. We had 2 large shopping centers nearby, roughly the same distance from the apartment. The question was simple. Which one would let us get the most done in the least time? I fed ChatGPT the list. Kitchen essentials, cleaning supplies, electronics, furniture items, and a few specific brands we needed. If I already knew which stores carried a particular item, I included that information. In moments, it gave me a ranked recommendation. One center offered better coverage for our list, and it even pointed out that while the Apple store we needed wasn't in that complex, it was just a few miles away. And then it provided a logical route that would include that final stop efficiently. It even included a route at the shopping center that sent us first to stores that would close early. We followed the plan, and for once, a major shopping day went off smoothly and calmly. We saved time, avoided backtracking, and got everything done in one trip. It was a small example, but it reinforced something important. AI becomes exponentially more useful when you give it detailed, accurate, structured information. The more you tell it about your priorities, timing, and constraints, the more value it can return. That applies to nearly every personal task, from trip planning to meal prep to financial projections. When you think of AI as a partner, not an authority, it can transform how you organize your life. So what does responsible AI use really look like in daily life? It's not about avoiding AI or outsourcing your judgment. It's about striking a thoughtful balance. So let's break it down. 1. Provide rich context. Think of AI like a very bright assistant who just started their first day at work. They're capable, eager, and incredibly fast, but they don't know your preferences yet. You need to teach them how you think, what you value, and where to focus. When you give AI thorough background and clear objectives, your results will reflect that clarity. Beware of shallow context. AI solves the question it's asked, not necessarily the problem you have. That's why defining the real issue before asking the question is half the work. Never mistake a quick response for a correct one. Verify before you act. Even when an answer sounds authoritative, never skip the verification step. Cross-check data against reputable, up-to-date sources. Government sites for tax laws, your financial advisor for investment questions, your physician for health information. Trust but verify isn't cynicism. It's good governance for your digital life. Protect your privacy. Be selective with what you share. Avoid uploading documents that include account numbers, home addresses, or anything personally identifying. If you wouldn't send it in a group email or put it on a business card, don't paste it into a chat window. Most AI systems provide privacy settings. Use them. And remember, privacy is not just about secrecy. It's about control. You want to decide what stays yours. Stay aware of the knowledge cutoff. We discussed this earlier, but it bears repeating. AI's built-in information ends at a specific point in time. It doesn't automatically learn what happened yesterday or even last quarter unless it's connected to live data. That means you need to double-check anything time-sensitive. Laws, tax updates, market trends, even event schedules. Recognize bias and limitations. AI doesn't reason. It predicts. ChatGPT predicts what word should come next. It builds responses from the patterns it has seen, which means it can reflect cultural or informational bias. If a result feels off, trust that instinct and research further. Healthy skepticism protects you. Keep the human element. No algorithm can replace empathy, creativity, or judgment. AI can recommend and it can mimic reasoning, but it can't care. It doesn't understand what matters most to you or your family unless you tell it, and even then, it can't feel it. That's your superpower. Use AI to create space for living. Ultimately, the goal isn't to spend your life managing prompts or perfecting commands. It's to buy back time. If AI can automate the routine, like organizing your files, summarizing your emails, mapping errands, then use that saved time to reconnect with what matters. Family dinners, walks with friends, meaningful rest. Technology should serve you, not absorb you. That's the spirit of living your wealth today and tomorrow. Being intentional about how you spend your time, money, and attention so that each supports the life you actually want to live. Artificial intelligence, one of the most powerful tools we've ever had. But like every tool, its value depends on the hands that guide it. Used without thought, AI can spread half-truths, reinforce bias, and create confusion. Used intentionally, with context, curiosity, and care, it becomes a catalyst for efficiency, creativity, and better decision-making. It's a bit like financial planning. Numbers and projections are useful, but they're not wisdom. Wisdom comes from aligning those numbers with your goals, your values, and your life. AI works the same way. The technology provides the numbers, you provide the meaning. Because the point of all this technology isn't just to make life faster, it's to make life better, more balanced, more intentional, more aligned with who you are and what you value most. That's what it means to live your wealth today and tomorrow. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Living Your Wealth Today and Tomorrow. If you found this discussion helpful, please share it with someone who might benefit from learning how to use AI more wisely. You can find additional insights, resources, and past episodes at infinityfinancialstrategies.net. Thanks for listening to this episode of Living Your Wealth Today and Tomorrow. This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not tax, legal, or investment advice. Seek guidance from your legal and financial professionals before acting. For more insights on planning for your financial future, follow me on LinkedIn. And for more information on Infinity Financial Strategies, visit our website at infinityfinancialstrategies.net. If you enjoyed the show, please share it with a friend or family member who might benefit from listening, and please leave a review wherever you listen. Tune in next time for more tips and tricks on living your best life through financial planning.